All right, let's get going. Let's get going. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time zone you're in. Even if you're in the surge time zone, we're blessed and honored to have you here. I'm happy to introduce a real special guest today, Nick Patterson, the CEO of Jupiter Digital Enterprises, in a bit. But before that, we absolutely want to have our Chief Surge Officer, Ali, talk. And before she talks, I just wanted to remind everybody we've got a really awesome mission here. We are making clean energy the new normal. The new normal. Like we talked about every single podcast so far, Surgecast so far. Remember the time when nobody had a cell phone and now everybody's got one or maybe even two. Remember the time when you weren't in the renewable energy industry and now you're helping create a better planet, better grid, saving people money and making a great living, whether it's a side gig or it's something that you've decided you're going to commit yourself to. Surge is a conduit for commercial, industrial, and community scale renewable energy projects. Conduit that makes something that's good even better. It amplifies it. It drives success. And our focus right now is driving success in the commercial, industrial, and community side of our utility grid. How do we do it? We connect organizations and partners like you to folks that have already done these things before and our award-winning installer network and developer network, our technology partners, our finance partners, so that they have more access through you to opportunities they probably didn't even know before. How cool is that? How cool is that, waking up in the morning doing that? I've had all kinds of jobs and vocations and careers. Sure, I haven't been a real boss in a long time. But getting up in the morning and making that kind of difference, whew, hope you feel the same kind of you know what that I do. The brain of our business is the platform. As all shareholders and subscribers, we give feedback to Ali and the team, and we make this platform better. My analogy is I was Trekkie when I grew up, right? Every time I walk onto the bridge of this Starship Enterprise, I look around and go, wow, look at that. We got ourselves a new version of it. We got ourselves a new widget. We got ourselves a new tool. All right, all right, all right, as Matthew McConaughey would say. So if that's the brain, the heart and hands of the business are us. And we are so blessed and honored that you are part of the VIP team. I'm talking to you directly if you're on the gallery. So thank you. And if you're already part of Surge, we thank you as well. And if you're not, think about it. Think about it. It makes a big difference. Make yourself some wealth. And by doing good by others, you can do well by yourself and your family. So with that, I want to introduce you to Ali, our founder and CEO, Ali Turner. Ali, you got some words for the team?
Yeah, wonderful, Emmett. Thank you so much for all of that. It was just beautiful and motivational, and I thank you for taking the time there. News and updates from Surge. So we've had a really big summer. I wanted to just shout out all of you who joined in July. We had a really big July. I think we brought in probably 30 or 35 new members just in July alone. Summer is a hot time. It's a lot of motion, a lot of momentum. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining the platform, bringing your friends. A couple of shout outs for some of you who are here today. Want to thank Braden Sherwood, who is here. I see you here. Braden's got some really great stuff going on with his company. He just brought his team on board. We had a really great meeting the other day, and they're going to be bringing all of their sales pros on board in the next few months. Really successful resi company and just moving into commercial as their next venture. So really excited about that. Thank you, Braden. I see Taylor's here as well. He's a member of the team there, so awesome. Also, congrats to Jonah. Hi, I see you there. You got your video on. Thank you. Put in his first deal. We just got that qualified. So for those of you EPCs online today, heads up, there's a great new deal in the pipeline. We've got a variety of really awesome deals in the pipeline right now. Okay, I just want to shout that out, let you all know. A couple of emails ago, we did a full rundown of our current pipeline, all of the deals that have yet to be picked up by an EPC partner. So for those of you EPCs online today, take a look at those emails. If you didn't see it, let me know. I'll resend it to you. But take a look at our pipeline because there's some really amazing projects, and I understand things can get lost in the mix. You've got a full inbox constantly. So let me know if there's something you're looking for, a type of project you're looking for, a location. We've got pretty much anything you can imagine. So really exciting stuff. So August is going to be another great month for us. We're really excited. We're continuing our 90-day runway promo. So heads up to all of you sponsors out there, bring your teams on board, bring your friends. We're excited about it. rapid growth, tons of momentum, and we're looking at a really strong finish to the year. So we're excited about that and really appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of this movement with us. We really, really are grateful for your presence.
Awesome. I want to shout out Denise and Dane David, working on 3 interesting projects that will make a significant impact on thousands of lives. So I'm not going to what do you take the rabbit out of the hat or something, or cat out of the bag? But we hope to see those projects in there in the next week or two. Really a pleasure and an honor to work with you, and example of people who really just want to make a difference. And part of the difference is finding a way to take these places that help people, and instead of spending the money on the electricity bill, right, getting them the opportunity to make these places better for folks that are in transition. What a cool set of projects. That's my shout out for this week. And Ellie, we did miss you. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through a quick recap of the previous masterclass, and then we're going to do an intro of Nick at Jupiter. And then Jupiter, Nick and Ellie and I are going to talk a little bit. And if you have questions or comments, put it in the chat. We'll open it up for questions and answers at the end of the session. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Perfect. And Ellie, if you could confirm that you see that. Good. All right, let's get it bigger here. Perfect. Oops. There we go. So Surge, our masterclass series, this is part 2. Part 1 was the overview of the structure. So we're going to cover all 6 parts of the structure. Last week, we focused on one part. This week, we're focusing on part 2. So what we do in this series, we talk about our vision, mission, values, which you heard about. We talk a little about industry news. Surge PSAs come from public service announcements, come from Al. We've done that already. And then we focus on our deep dive. At the end of the session, we usually leave about 15 minutes for questions and answers, which are proctored mostly by our VP team, right? So we just talked about our vision and mission. Let's talk about industry news. A couple things that might have popped up. Wall Street wants in on America's battery storage boom. A lot of private investors now coming into our sector, particularly understanding and focusing in on the fact that the current grid is not built for renewable energy. It was built for oil and coal. And rather waiting for the government and infrastructure to change, they know there's one thing they can help drive, and that's the one thing they can help drive is build batteries, especially around data centers, new warehouses, and other infrastructure improvements. The other thing that's really interesting here is a great study that came out. Bloomberg put it out, their energy division. And it's really a recap of the past couple of years and the projection of where energy investment surges. So you can see this bottom row here is renewable energy. So these are the projects typically we're involved on. But look at the green. What is the green? The green is electrified transport. It's really the biggest chunk that's grown. Well, no duh, right? I mean, electric vehicles. When you talk about the folks that are, really pillars of our surge strategy, pillars of commercial, you're going to find that because of the government subsidies and because of the need to support electric vehicles, EV chargers are pretty much paid for, quote unquote, by the government. Why not look at that? Anybody has land? Anybody that doesn't have an EV charger on that property? Can you see that? Can you see that green? Now look at this new light blue. Power grids. So that in conjunction with these battery plants that they're putting up, either subsidized by the government for the utilities or by private sector. Okay? And you have heat, storage, of course, there's nuclear, carbon capture, hydrogen, and clean shipping. But the 2 biggest things I'd like to bring this team's attention to are the electrified transport and the power grids. Put one in the chat if you get it. If you have any questions, put that in as well. Some bad news in the industry. 2 weeks or a week ago, we talked about how SunPower stock crashed, and guess what? Unfortunately, it went bankrupt. Really speaks to the fact that some of these vertically integrated models just aren't viable anymore. That's one of the reasons why we created Surge. And you're seeing other platforms in commercial and resi that do the same thing. So instead of standing on your own trying to be a vertical company, why not leverage the expertise of vertical partners. Horizontal partners in their specialties like finance and EPCs in energy management, right? Developers like you, and use the platform to amplify that. I'd really like to call out, I don't know if John's on today, and Sun Renew. I pulled this up on LinkedIn the other day. Two industrial complexes in California, back where my kids live. They're in Oceanside, right behind Carlsbad and right between Carlsbad and Vista. And John and his team over at Sun Renew, what a world-class partner. So honored to have them here. And they're going to save, at least this first one they've done, about $129,000 a year. That's huge. Huge. Some PSAs, free 90-day test drive. We talked about that. Pool cover company in Missouri, David Sherwood, if you're on, thank you. That's the project of the week. We're trying to get that out for a couple partners to bid on for you. Had an awesome podcast last week with EcoSmart, and there you go, Justin did a great one. If you missed it, remember they're all recorded, and you heard from Ali some of our numbers recently, and there's a shout out for Karen and Nova Solar too. I don't know if we mentioned her, maybe I already forgot. Getting old, but look at that. Got a new partner with one of our VIPs. One other thing, Ali, if you have a footnote, if you're still on, can you talk about the customer referral links?
Yeah, absolutely. Really great point. Custom referral links are available. This is something new we rolled out previously. Some of you OGs on here will remember there was just the form inside the platform to submit your referrals details as a sponsor. Now we have custom links. So most of you should have custom links by now. If you don't, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. You fill out a simple form and that adds you as an official sponsor in our link system and gets you your links. So I'm going to drop that in the chat here in just a minute. But again, it looks like most of the names I'm seeing here on the list, you probably already have them. If not, you can use that link.
Awesome. Try full screen again. Oh, that works. Okay, masterclass, part 2, lead generation. So remember, everybody has an origin story. What's yours? Have you studied success stories? What's your why? Who's your mentor? What's your economic model? Right here, got Colonel Sanders, his origin story. You got Jack Ma and Alibaba. You got Amazon. And then, of course, our good old football, baseball, basketball, and hockey teams. What percent of your business is commercial? What percent do you want to have go through Surge? What type of mentors do you have to help you? Hopefully you find some here on the platform. And how do you intend to make that money? So what's your why? Hopefully you've done that. We're going to get back to that in a different deep dive. Who's your mentor? Again, someone in the business, someone related, someone's going to hold you accountable. What's your economic model? McDonald's is a real estate business before it's a hamburger business, right? Have you put that together? Ali and I are working on getting you a tool where you're not only going to be able to easily see what your projected commissions are on the platform, but also plan for next year. What is it going to take for you to make X amount of money on the platform? I'll be taking you through that masterclass here before the end of the year. Probably be the last one. We got 4 more after this. So pick your vertical. We've been talking about forever. It's all about Domino's. You heard a little bit of a hint on my shout out about Denise and Dane David and what they're working on right now. But is it churches, right? Is it agriculture? Is it energy management systems with Don and his team at Allery? Okay, so now we're going to get to this lead generation strategy with Nick Patterson, CEO of Jupiter. So I'm going to take the screen off for a second here, and I'm going to give it to Nick. Nick, I've known you for a couple of years now. How are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah? So on a scale of 1 to 10, what is that?
9.5, I'd say.
9.5. What would make it a 10 today, Nick?
It was sunny and outside. That's about it.
Where you at? You in the DC today?
Yes, sir.
And then headed out to Cali's, what you told us earlier, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with Nick in a couple other verticals in the renewable energy industry, so I appreciate him on many levels. He's got the con now, so before you jump in, Nick, could you just tell us a little bit about your origin story? Like, who are you first as a human being? And then I'll dig into that a little bit, and then we'll talk about how did you start the company and why.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 7 years ago, so when I started my company, Jupiter Digital, and it's evolved a lot during that period. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland, by the way. So I'm a DMV local, just like Emmett. I met him at a local bar here about 2 years ago, completely by chance. It was not any like purposeful networking at all. It's funny how the world works like that. But so my passion that I really love doing is growth, and that's really what I take. I'm taking my agency now. We used to marketing agency was like the whole, nuance and the edge that was going on in the late 2010s, and now I really rebranded us to just focusing on growth. And today I just wanted to kind of share, we're running several commercial solar campaigns right now.
Sure.
There's a lot of data. And
Well, I'm not going to let you get away with going to business too quickly. The people are interested to know who you are as a person. So you were a native of DC, Maryland, Virginia?
yeah, and I dropped out of college when I was a junior to start my business. I was
Wow.
actually a senior actually, so I pretty much wasted it. I
I
went so
don't
far, I
know.
didn't even get a degree, but I just, I was very ADD growing up, which is kind of, a weird label, but it was not conducive for success in school. So I just found that business was a lot more
Yep.
my cup of tea.
Yeah. I like to say that you just ran on a different operating system. I have 4 kids and 3 grandkids. I've worked with some greats in this industry for 20 years, and the people that I admire the most are the ones that don't fit the mold, right? So congratulations on that. Where were you going to school before you dropped out?
Kenyon College is a small liberal arts school in
Yep.
about an hour north of Columbus, Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. All right. All right. And you started Jupiter when?
2017. It's actually about
Okay.
exactly 7 years ago.
Almost to this day. That's terrific. You're also doing some other work, right? In other industries?
Yep,
Okay.
fintech. Actually, I started off in crypto. I got in. It was I was doing marketing for a crypto education company, um, and this was like 2017, right as the blockchain technology was coming mainstream, and Bitcoin was like at $1,000. So,
Sure.
but I was
Sure.
like just dropped out of school and broke, so I obviously had no money and didn't make any money from that crypto cycle. But I was like working within the business and just learned a lot about it.
Okay.
But the nature of that business is it's very boom and bust. As if you guys don't know, like the markets will go up 10,000% and then retrace like 90%. So it's very like boom and bust. So I kind of realized that after a few years that I wanted to build my business around something a little more sustainable and just a little faster growing industry. And that's what
Right.
kind of I met Emmett and connected with about solar and
Yep.
roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you've done a great job in both the roofing and solar business since we met. A lot of folks in some other networks have really benefited from you. So we're happy to have you on Surge as well. You also done some real estate, I believe.
Yep. We work
Yep.
with some hard money
That's good.
lenders.
Good, 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 good. Awesome. Well, we'll let you take it from here. Tell us more about Jupiter, if you don't mind. If you're using your slideshow, I can see it on the screen. Just take a pause so Allie and I can throw out some questions for you. And again, if you have any questions for Nick, drop them in the chat. All right, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, so just some background about the company. We do a variety of strategies, but lately we really niche down on cold automated outreach. I'm going to dive into this a little later on, but right now we're just seeing a lot of issues with the big tech ad platforms. The costs are very unpredictable. They're very strict on the rules and the regulations of the ads they run. So I know that was, a lot of people when they hear about marketing online right now, they think about Facebook ads, they think about Google ads, they think about YouTube ads, and that really is it's not becoming a predictable lead generation source that it was several years ago. It's become very oversaturated. It's become very crowded, particularly in the solar space. There's a lot of people that are doing the same thing and driving the cost per lead up. And there's also a ton of issues with spam. So today I kind of just wanted to walk you through, guys, what is working
Sure.
this year for us. So you guys will
Well,
just kind of know. You don't have to go.
if I'm sitting here and you can move the slide too, if I'm sitting here waiting for the punchline, I don't want to spoil it. What am I going to get out of the next 15 to 20 minutes with you?
Yeah, so I'm going to show you guys the best strategy I think that is working right now,
Okay,
how to execute it successfully, and
good.
how
So,
details that it takes to run a successful campaign with commercial solar.
Great. If you
It's a
hit
lot.
slide 2, we're looking at slide 1 now, just so you know. Go slide 2. Okay, so folks, if you have a vertical and you're like passionate about that vertical, you know, put as many, you know, carports out with electrical vehicle chargers for every parking lot you don't see. You want to put solar and batteries in every medical center, schools, churches, halfway houses, right? Whatever. Part of the challenge is how do you reach out to them? And if you don't know how, and if you don't have the connections, okay, that's going to be a slow burn. But how would you like to jumpstart that? How would you like to jumpstart it and then sustain a campaign like that? Well, that's where Nick comes into play. Nick, go ahead.
Right. It's completely true. And so just kind of build the foundation of, you know, before you launch any lead generation campaign, you kind of want to know what kind of leads you're going to be generating from that. And there's like each type of lead that you can generate, it's almost like a completely different industry, right? So obviously you see the 3 types. There's the cold, warm, and hot. And I touched upon the cold and, you know, the issues with the ad platforms with that right now. So today I'm going to focus actually on how to generate warm leads through the cold outreach that we were just talking about.
Yeah, go back to that. Again, let's take a pause after every slide. And then you got hot, right? So, Sally, I'm curious, based on where we're at today with Surge, and this is just one snapshot, what do you see in the way of mix right now, Ali, in terms of cold versus warm versus hot?
Yeah, really, really good question. I would say that the warmest leads are the ones that somebody went out and found directly. You know, if you look at Mike Laser's training from a few weeks ago, he literally walks into the building and he says, "Hey, who can I speak to about your electric bills?" Right? And building that relationship face to face, there's just nothing like it, right? It's just nothing's ever going to compare. On the other hand, you know, even stronger than that, still a direct connection, similar, would be referrals. So it's a friend of a friend. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's, you know, you're renting and you want to talk to your landlord because they have 5 other properties in the area. So you have a more direct connection with somebody in your life. I would say most of the projects on Surge right now are going to be more direct connections than anything else. I think very few people are running ad campaigns. Some of our members are probably cold calling, but it's a mix. I would say most of them are going to be direct connections.
So what we're going to offer you is the opportunity to grow the top part of that funnel. And if, say, you're bringing in 3 parking lots that need carports, an EV charger, and a free energy management system audit from Allery, that's Don and his team, right? How'd you like to get 10 of those? I mean, you're already having the conversation. You're already bringing 3 in. What's the limiting factor there, right? So stay tuned. I'm sure more to come from Nick. Nick, next slide, if you don't mind. Yep.
Right. So now we kind of have the foundation about what kind of leads can you generate and the different approach it kind of takes for that. We can kind of get into the meat and potatoes now.
Cool.
So this is actually a really important step before we dive into the strategy is having your plan, like having your marketing plan defined. So you know, like, okay, who are you targeting? What's the niche? What's your plan when the leads start coming in? Do you have the team ready to handle the leads and turn them, you know, collect their bill, input them into the platform successfully, you know, how to use Surge. You know, before you start getting leads, you want to know, you know, which EPC are you going to use. Because I've just seen a lot of times where I have a client and they're ready to buy leads. And I've even had clients that are doing 10 million a year in installs. And we started running campaigns for them and they weren't ready for the leads. They didn't know how to collect the bill. They didn't know how to, you know, open the conversation and lead them just to a free energy audit. They were asking questions about, do you want to finance or buy? Like that's the foundation that you really need to identify before you launch a campaign. Because that can derail a lot of hard work that it takes to, you know, launch a campaign, you know, all the effort it takes to go do the marketing, get the copyright, all those facets. You know, this is the first step. You can't overlook this enough.
Awesome. Keep going. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go back. I didn't know you were doing that slide. My fault. So a couple of things, right? So who's your target avatar? So many folks, if you've gone through the first part of this mastermind, you've answered that question. What am I focusing on? Right? How do you engage leads? That's huge. So Nick, what have you seen like on the worst case spectrum? Okay, campaigns launched. We're in phase 1 of 20. What are you seeing the worst? And then what's the best practice there when a lead does come in?
Speed the lead. Yeah, that's really the name of the game, especially if you're doing campaigns for cold leads. Referrals, you can get some wiggle room. You should be still, obviously, the speed of lead is crucial, but you also want to make sure you're getting, relevant data so that, they're qualified. So whatever medium you're using to generate the leads, like, okay, what's the industry they're in? What's this person's title? What's their, how, when we generate leads, we have something called an intent scale. Like, how urgently do they want to solve this problem with their energy bill, and what's their pain point? So that's really on the good side of things. On the bad side, I would say it's really just being unprepared and knowing that if you're dealing with cold leads, for example, this is an issue I see a lot. Is I see businesses that crush it with referrals, like they go to a lot of networking conferences, and then they'll launch some Facebook ads, for example, and they'll use the same strategies for outreach up to these leads, which is completely different because cold leads they're very unresponsive, and you have to be a lot more persistent to the point that people actually often have the misconception they're being needy and rude, but it's really just what it takes to, like, these people don't know you. They're not your friends or your family, so they have no obligation to respond to you at all.
Right.
That's really the hump that I see a lot of people get stuck with when they switch from a cold strategy, from a warm and hot strategy to one that's cold. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's start from the perspective of the potential buyer. There are going to be tire kickers out there. We know it. Oh yeah, that's cool. I'll click here. Free iPad for a free quote. No problem. I'm in. You're smiling because you've done that before, and I have too. There'll be ones that actually are responsible for that function. Maybe they're procurement, maybe they're a facility manager, and they're like, oh wow, that sounds interesting. I didn't know that. You want to be educated. And it's actually part of their job. And then there'll be people out here that are always learning about this. They're already in the industry. They get it. And they say, well, that's an interesting approach. One of the things I know that Nick does and his team does is they collect a lot of data. There's a difference between please enter your information on a form and taking them through 20 clicks. They get through 4 clicks, it's different than if they get through 7 clicks or 15 clicks or 20 clicks. So knowing that the data is scrubbed, knowing that the data is scored, allows the person on the other side, right, to say, wow, on a scale of 1 to 10, this lead is scored 7.9, or this lead's a 9.2. And regardless, what I know, Nick, you and your team offer as part of your platform is the ability to respond on your behalf, right? So that they can say, hey, I got a hot one here. I got a 9.2. This means at this point, we're going to set an appointment for you. Versus us looking at these, generic leads that come in on, 5-line form submissions, right, Nick? And like, okay, every lead's great. Big difference. It's matchmaking. Ali and I talk about it all the time with the team, right? I keep talking about match.com. You don't get all the information. You get like a picture and 3 lines. Well, you got to get the 4 lines here. You get the 10 lines here, right? Am I close to that, Nick? And Ali, please weigh in too.
Yeah, no, it's a fine art between balancing, collecting too much information where you lose the lead, but too little where you can't gauge the quality. And that's really where you really have to define, back to what we're talking about here, of defining what the goals are of the campaign properly and assessing whether you have the foundations to make it happen.
Ali, you want to weigh in on that?
Oh, I agree 100%. This actually made me think of a question I'll save for the office hours later that came in from a member. I'm gonna pick Nick's brain on this.
Do you have the right software in follow-up process? Do you have a CRM? That's huge too. I mean, if you've been on Surge, you know that you've got that platform. So when you talk about right software, do you bring that? CRM, do you bring that? How does that work? Are you going to get to that later in your deck?
Yeah, no. So we usually have a recommended one, but we don't have like, official our own software.
Okay, cool. All right, next slide.
Cool. So here's the magic strategy now. So this actually I think is the highest leverage because this is about automated outreach for building your ambassador network at scale. And so what we've seen success with is LinkedIn campaigns, automation campaigns in particular, to realtors and property managers that have a big book of business. Because one outreach of that is worth potentially, hundreds to thousands of leads, where you obviously can do, one by one for buildings, right? But it's more efficient that we should just get the meat of a bigger steak, and you get a potentially 300 to 500 warm leads from people who have, oh, this is Emmett, the realtor who I've known for 5, 10 years. That's a warm connection versus cold outreach. Not saying the cold email, cold calling, that's effective as well too. But kind of where I think a lot of people are at when you're starting out your business, this is the highest leverage strategy. You just find one or two good people who can have you leverage their book of business. You can partner with, and it's a very simple offer to get it, get people's attention too. Because when you're reaching out with a cold message on LinkedIn, and I know everyone here probably gets, dozens of unsolicited messages a day. This offer is very simple. You're saying, I want to partner with you and basically offer a passive income stream together. And that to me has been working the best because it's and you do run through, yeah, and you do need the volume though, just to clarify, because you're going to run into a lot of realtors online and who just have a small book of business. People, they actually don't have a good relationship with a lot of their past sales. So that's a huge part of the equation. Is just you'll have to go through a lot of bad interviews and conversations till you get the meat. But really, you just need one to really just completely change the trajectory of your business. Take it from a 6 to 7 to 8 figures.
Very cool, very cool. Let me know when you're ready for questions.
Yeah, and so then the platforms that I like to use to do LinkedIn campaigns is Dripify. It's a software that you can do automated outreach where you can do like 10 to 20 connection requests a day. You can do a certain industry. You can obviously customize the messages. You have to kind of. I personally prefer to be very personal. That seems to be most successful, where you just come in trying to add value. Don't come in too hot. That's really big.
Mhm.
And then also another good source for getting good data. If you're just trying to find like a cold list to run say an email campaign or a cold call campaign, we use Lucia for getting data, B2B data in particular. And we find that has very accurate data. You can get by position type. You can see you get multiple phone numbers. You get their address, which is very important because you need that obviously for quotes. So that's that's what I recommend for that as well.
Yeah, so what stands out here to me is that there's automation, and automation, wow. If you're not automated, and I'm the worst to say probably on this whole call that I'm automated, but I know what to automate. Then if you're creating good content, there's a lot of people that should see it that aren't, right? If you're creating good content, you want to learn how to do excellent content, you put in a story arc in a campaign. So it's what's the next episode? And all of a sudden, you're looking at your socials right now and you're saying, oh, look, 32 people saw it. One person commented, ends up 3,200 people saw it, right? 50 people comment, right? So if you have good content already, you have great ideas, this is the opportunity to say, listen, this is how I see it. This is what I really want to grow in my business. Can somebody help me automate that? Can somebody help me get that message out? Right? So you do it the hard way, which is on your own, which is fine, right? If this is a side gig, all you want to sell 1 or 2 deals a year, that's great. If you're serious about making this a career, learn the automation. And I know that Nick and your team, you have a really great group of automations, pattern, matrix of automations that you provide. I've seen your work. Ali, you want to add to this?
I love it. And I've had really good experiences with these platforms. LinkedIn is great for commercial lead gen. Definitely can be automated through something like Dripify. I think the power of automation, as Emmett is saying, is everything. It's great when you can set something up and mostly forget about it, right? And that is kind of the future of our economy, right? With AI and automation possibilities. And it does become a largely passive revenue stream, because when you have a system that is doing the outreach for you, doing the heavy lifting, and you can just respond as those people come into your inbox, suddenly your life is so much easier. You're not sitting at the computer 12 hours a day every day. So I support this 100%. Really love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably three ways to look at it. And Nick, if you jump in before we move on to the next slide, one is, okay, I'm learning. Great. For anybody that's here, that's just learning, digest it, set up a consultation, learn how it works. One of the things I love about Nick is Nick will tell you, you know what, you're not ready. I'm sorry, it's not a good match. Come see me in 6 months or maybe a year. I love that about you. I've gotten better at that because of you. The second is a group of people who are finding, a couple projects and are thinking, maybe after my first commission check, I'm going to put some money into a campaign. Domino's. I got my first 3 carports with EV chargers on parking lots without a carport. Nick, getting a nice check from Surge. I'm wondering how to reinvest that in my business. And there's a group of you that are probably thinking right now, you know what, just give me the leads, right? I can handle them. You tell me what I need to do. Let's come up with a campaign. Here's the money, plug and play. What kind of group of people do you typically consult with, Nick? What's the mix?
Yeah,
You don't have to use my pillars, by the way. We never pre-rehearse, but go ahead.
of course not. Lately it's usually businesses with 10 plus employees. That's so we actually built out kind of an automated call center lately, where it's an offshore call center for appointment setting that kind of uses it kind of mixes these automation strategies together for lead generation, for B2B, and also for residential solar as well. That's really what we've been focused on building the last 6 months and scaling that operation. So, it's that outreach, and combined with the partner generation, so because you have one stream of cold leads, one stream of the warm leads, and then obviously, you can turn this strategy into hot leads too, where you're going to conferences and leveraging that. Absolutely. And that you should be doing all three. I think that's really the foundation of every successful business.
Cool. I'm a fisherman, multi-generation fisherman. I liken it to fishing. You got to have the right bait. You got to have the right tackle. And then when you find the right fishing hole, you double down, right? And I think that's part of the process too. All of a sudden you go from just a few people knowing your pitch to that pitch going viral and sustaining through. And why would you ever want to unplug, right? All right, next slide. About 5 minutes or so before we wrap up and open it up. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, this is the last slide actually. So this is just some success tips for, when you are doing automated outreach for, growing your ambassador network. You got to be very selective about who you partner with and qualify them appropriately. You really want to portray a partnership with them where it's hands off. Like, no one wants to do more work to make more money, even though that's not how the world works. But that's how people want to grow their business, right, in a more passive way. And yeah, I think it's just all about the persistent aspect, where you can't just give up after a few months and a few conversations. You need to have a long-term mindset for this, that everything great takes time to build. And, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've ever been on the other side of this matrix, I guess, you'll see that the automation is okay. When we get a lead, the first thing that happens is a text message within 10 seconds, an email that follows up within a minute, right? and then a follow-up campaign that's probably 17 or 20 steps deep. Automated. So you don't have to wake up and go, oh, I got to make my third phone call, et cetera, et cetera. It's graded. There's subroutines. It's amazing how far this has come. You get to help write the scripts. You help co-create the media and the creative. You're like, no, I want to say hi in a video after they sign up. Great, here you go. Hi, it's me. So excited, right? Seventh attempt. I guess I hope you weren't eaten by crocodiles, right? Whatever you want, it's all in there. And then you learn from that and you machine it. And you keep building and building and building on it. It's really phenomenal how far this has come. Al, do you have any other points or questions for Nick before we open it up? And folks, again, put your questions on the chat. I'll be running that first, and then we'll open up the mic. Allie, any other comments?
I absolutely love this. I have a little bit of experience with it as well, LinkedIn automation.
No. Is that where you started?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I had a lead generation agency in solar that was my first business ever. And it ultimately has come full circle into building a platform for solar. But we were doing a ton of lead gens, mostly in the resi space back then. But when we ventured into commercial, this is exactly what we did. We did cold email, cold LinkedIn outreach, put it all on autopilot. I had a series of VAs helping handle the messages as they came in, the responses to the emails, booking appointments, qualifying the leads. And honestly, it was a lot of fun and it was really effective. So 10 out of 10 recommend. Nick's really got this down.
Awesome. So Nick, before we get to the questions, what if somebody wants to contact you? What's the best way to contact you? If you could drop that information in the chat, we'll drop it in the recording too. That'd be great. But what's the best way to engage? What do they need to bring before they get with you too? So
Yeah.
engage.
I'll just, you can just shoot me an email, kind of let me know if you have any questions about launching the campaigns, kind of just where you're at, where you're trying to go with your business, what are your goals, what have you tried already too? It's good to know what has worked for you, and because that's really what all these strategies, everyone has something they're good at and what they're best at. That's really what you want to stick with. You don't want to throw a bunch of new stuff at the wall if you have something that's already working for you.
So dear Nick, this is Charlie Brown. I'm really passionate about doing the following. Here's what I've tried already. Would love to get your thoughts around how to build a campaign. That simple?
That would be great.
Okay.
All you need.
Cool. So let's take it to questions here. So, Allie, not far from where I grew up, had friends go to Kenyon. I actually know Kenyon. I looked at Kenyon back in '87 when I graduated from high school. What CRM do you recommend? What CRM do you recommend? We're not going to leave that on the record, but
go high level
for you. What have you seen work for other people?
I'll put it in the chat, but go high level is and they have a lot of white labeled versions that actually are customized for solar, and they're kind of hit or miss. So I kind of recommend just starting with the basic one.
Yeah, I like
I think about that.
SAP is a CRM too, so I'll plug that for Allie. Don, why don't you open up your mic? You've got a great question there. Don, would you mind? Thank you.
By the way, I like, for those people who hate CRMs, you can also use less annoying CRM. It's very inexpensive, $15 a user. But if you want the headaches and want to learn things the hard way, it's a great way to go. It makes life simple. It was designed by an engineer. So that's my 2 cents on a CRM, by the way. Nick, one of the questions I have for you is, do you have any experience working with Vibe TV ads, utilizing the MP4 files in YouTube, interacting with those two together? And what would your approach be?
Yeah, so Vibe TV is software that basically designs the ads for you, right? With the AI, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. I have no experience with it, but I've heard of it.
Okay, fair enough. So Vibe TV actually places your ads with various specific targeted markets or markets nationwide, or whether you want to be on ESPN or whether you just want to be on the local news channel or Bloomberg, your ad will come up as long as it's an MP4 file. like a YouTube channel ad does for 10 seconds, 30 seconds. And you get so many clicks for a set budget. That's the reason why I was asking the question, because um, it it gets convoluted when you do YouTube, Google, and Vibe. You know, where am I really getting the most exposure? And I can, with Vibe, I can limit what time it gets posted. You know, like when C-suite people might be getting up in the morning, those kinds of things. And I pay as little as 2 cents a click. So I just wanted to hear your feedback. That's all.
Yeah, so I don't have any experience with Vibe TV, but as YouTube as an advertising platform, you can get pretty targeted and get a lot of those same parameters. What's the particular use case that you're talking about for these ads?
I'm basically just using a video and getting them.
Yeah.
The call to action is to get them to our
Because
website.
Nick doesn't know, you're in energy management, facility management.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the use case. You two should talk offline. I love
Yeah,
this. I've seen people jump into that space accidentally, and I've seen people work with partners and move themselves in that space. So yeah, why don't you exchange information? For some reason, Don, I keep seeing your stuff every day. I mean, meaning your ads every day. You have a new video, you have a new topic. It's stalking me all through the internet. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Nick, the big thing about energy management systems is it's the easiest way to get into a business, right? Let's do a free audit. Let's put some devices in to control your loads. Let's put some devices in to understand where you're getting your energy from or using your energy from. Then it moves into a potential commercial pitch. So yeah, I'd love for you guys to connect. Just encouraging you both to connect. That's what Surge does, right, Allie? All right. I don't see anything else in the chat, so let's open up for office hours.